I wasn't supposed to tell anyone this story. I wasn't even supposed to remember it. But how do you forget your own child?
Hi, my name is Claire, and if you're watching this, then maybe you're curious. Curious about the kind of secret that makes a woman wake up at 3 a.m. for 20 years straight, just to stare at a photograph she wasn't allowed to keep. I wasn't supposed to tell anyone this story. I wasn't even supposed to remember it. But how do you forget your own child? She was born on a rainy Thursday in October. I never got to hold her, never got to count her tiny toes, never heard her cry or laugh or say mom. Because the moment she came into this world, they took her away. Not because I didn't love her, but because I was 17, alone, terrified, and told, "This is what's best for both of you." That phrase haunts me more than anything. They said I could go on and live a normal life. College, career, maybe marriage. But they never told me what to do with the part of my heart that left with her. I tried to move on. I wrote her letters I never sent. Every birthday, I baked a small cake just for me, just to pretend that somewhere, she was blowing out the same number of candles. Her name was Lily. I whispered it to the stars, to the wind, to no one. 20 years passed, and then one day, she found me. Not through DNA tests, not through social media, not through lawyers or closed adoption records. She walked into my cafe. Yes, I opened a cafe, a small, quiet place with warm bread and second chances. She walked in like any other customer. Except she was. I knew it the second I saw her eyes. My eyes. The same curious, nervous spark. The same wrinkle when she smiled, just a little too wide. She ordered chamomile tea. Like I always do when I'm nervous. She smiled politely. She had no idea. Until she looked up at me and said, "You're Claire, right?" My heart stopped. And then she whispered, I think you're my mother." That moment shattered me. And made me whole. All at once. But what came next? What she said after that broke me more than losing her ever did. And I'll tell you exactly what those words were in just a moment. But first, if you've made it this far, thank you. This story isn't just mine anymore. It's for every mother who never got to say goodbye. And every daughter who still carries questions in her chest like hidden letters. Please stay with me. Because what Lily said next changed everything. I don't remember if I was breathing. My hands were shaking so hard, I nearly dropped the mug I was holding. The counter between us suddenly felt like the ocean, wide, cold, and impossible to cross. She just stood there. Not crying, not yelling. Just waiting. And then she said the words that broke me. "You knew where I was all these years, didn't you?" Her voice was calm, but inside that calm I heard the storm. 20 years of wondering. 20 birthdays without answers. 20 Christmases with a question mark instead of a mother. My lips parted, but no sound came out. Because the truth was complicated. No, I didn't know exactly where she was. But I had signed the papers. I had given her away. And in her eyes, that meant I gave up. "I'm sorry," I finally whispered. I didn't want to, I was forced to. I was a child myself. She blinked slowly, processing. I wanted to fall to my knees and hold her. To tell her everything. To tell her how I used to sing lullabies to the moon, hoping somehow she'd hear. To tell her how I stayed up nights wondering if she liked ballet or baseball, or if she was allergic to strawberries like me. But all I could do was stare. She looked so strong. So grown. Her brown curls were pulled into a loose bun, and she wore a necklace with a tiny sunflower pendant, the same flower I'd painted on her nursery walls before the adoption people painted them over. "You could have found me," she said quietly. "They told me I was abandoned." I gasped. Abandoned. "No," I said, almost too loud. "Never, I never abandoned you. They told me I wouldn't be allowed contact. They sealed the records. I begged, Lily, I begged. She flinched at her name. I realized, maybe she didn't go by Lily anymore. I'm sorry, I said. Do you go by another name? She looked at me for a long second, then nodded. Anna, she said. My name is Anna. Anna's. It felt foreign. Like someone took my favorite lullaby and changed the ending. I smiled through the pain. That's beautiful, I said. It suits you. There was a silence between us then. Not angry, not cold. Just full. Full of years. Of missed stories. Of questions too sharp to ask in a cafe. Finally, she looked down and pulled out a folded paper from her coat pocket. I wrote this a long time ago, she said, in case I ever found you. My hands trembled as I took it. Tears blurred my vision as I unfolded the letter. To the mother I've never met, it began. I don't know if you're out there, or if you even remember me. But I want you to know. I forgive you. Even if I never understand why you gave me up. Even if it hurts. I forgive you because I need to heal. I forgive you because I want to love freely. And maybe, just maybe, one day I'll walk into a room. And you'll be there. Smiling. Crying. Or maybe just scared like me. And we'll start from whatever is left. My breath caught in my throat. This girl, this woman, had carried more grace than I ever gave myself. She reached out and placed her hand gently on mine. Claire, she said softly, I don't need you to explain everything right now. I just need you to be honest and not leave again. That's when I cried. Not the small, polite kind of crying, but the kind that starts in your bones. I won't, I said, I won't leave, not ever again. I didn't care about the customers in the cafe. I didn't care that the soup was burning on the stove. I only cared that my daughter, Anna, was standing right in front of me. And she hadn't walked away. Not yet. Not again. Anna, my Anna, nodded gently, as if something inside her had just settled. I don't want to talk here, she said, not with people watching. Of course she didn't. Neither did I. I led her to the back of the cafe, to the little table by the window, where I usually sat alone after closing time. The table I once whispered stories to, imagining my daughter across from me, sipping cocoa and telling me about her day. Now she was here. Real. Taller than I imagined. Stronger than I ever hoped. And yet still fragile, just like me. I brought us tea, chamomile for her, Earl Grey for me. She smiled when I returned, her fingers resting gently around the warm cup. Like maybe, just maybe, this table could hold all the years we lost. You own this place, she asked softly, looking around. I nodded. It was my dream. After everything, I needed something that was mine. She glanced around again, her eyes catching on the faded sunflower painting on the far wall. You painted that, she asked. My heart jumped. I did, a long time ago. Why sunflowers? I smiled. I used to imagine they were you, bright, reaching for light, even when planted in the darkest soil. She looked down. And for a moment, we just sipped our tea, letting silence do the talking. Then she asked it. The question I had feared for 2 decades. Why didn't you fight for me? It wasn't an accusation. It wasn't bitter. It was heartbreakingly honest. I closed my eyes and told her the truth. I was 17, still in school. My parents were strict, religious, proud. When they found out I was pregnant, they sent me away. A small home for girls in trouble. That's what they called it. I wasn't allowed visitors. No phone, no letters. I wasn't allowed to say your father's name. Anna listened, her face unreadable. The day you were born, I continued, my voice cracking, they gave me 1 hour, 60 minutes. Then they took you, I begged, screamed. I wasn't allowed to hold you. Tears slipped down her cheek. She didn't wipe them. They made me sign papers. They said it was best, that if I loved you, I'd let you go. Anna covered her mouth. Her eyes were wide. But I never stopped loving you, I whispered. Not for a second. I wrote to you every year, birthdays, Christmas, first day of school. I never knew if you'd get the letters, but I wrote them anyway. Where are they? She asked. I smiled faintly. In a box under my bed, everyone. She nodded. Can I read them sometime? She asked, her voice shaking. Anytime, I said. They're yours, they always were. For a long time, she didn't say anything. She just looked out the window at the empty street, the late sunlight catching her curls. And for a moment, I let myself imagine what those 20 years could have been: birthday parties, scraped knees, dances, college tour. I had a good life, she said suddenly. I looked up. My adoptive parents, they loved me. I wasn't abused, I wasn't neglected. But she paused. I always felt something missing, a question I wasn't allowed to ask. I'm glad they loved you, I said sincerely. It's all I prayed for. She nodded slowly. I guess I just needed to know. I wasn't thrown away. You never were, I whispered. You were torn away. We both cried then. And for the first time in 20 years. It felt like healing. It didn't fix everything. It didn't erase the pain. But it was a start. A fragile, tea-scented beginning. We closed the cafe early that day. I left a simple note on the door. Family emergency, will reopen tomorrow. Thank you for understanding. No one would know that family meant the daughter I lost and just found again. No one would know that the emergency wasn't pain. It was hope. Anna and I walked to the park 3 blocks away. It was late afternoon, the kind of golden hour that makes even broken things feel beautiful. We sat on a bench under an old maple tree. Kids were playing in the distance. The air smelled like grass and ice cream and second chances. So, I said, half laughing, how do you catch up on 20 years in one afternoon? She smiled gently. I don't know, but maybe we can try. And we did. She told me about her childhood, how she used to collect rocks and pretend they had magical powers. How she once made a science fair volcano that exploded so violently it ruined the gym floor. She played violin, hated mushrooms, and secretly loved math. I hung on to every word. It was like watching a movie of a life I should have been in. When it was my turn, I told her about how I became a baker. How every loaf of bread I made felt like healing. How I used to dream of a little girl's laughter in my home, even when I lived alone. She listened, not just with ears but with her heart. I always wondered if I looked like you, she said. You do, I replied, my voice warm, but your eyes, they're deeper, wiser. She looked down, a small smile curving her lips. Then hesitation. Can I ask you something a little harder? I nodded. Anything. She paused, then. Do you ever regret giving me up? I didn't flinch. Because I knew this one would come. I regret not being able to fight for you, I said. I regret every missed moment, every birthday I wasn't there for. But giving you up, it wasn't my choice. It was taken from me. So no, I don't regret you. I regret the system. I regret my silence. And I regret letting shame control my life. Tears welled in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. There was a long silence, then, comfortable and aching at once. Until a phone rang. Anna pulled out her cell and glanced at it. Her face changed. Guilt. It's my mom, she said. My adoptive mom. I told her I was just going to the bookstore. Oh, I replied, my heart quietly folding in on itself. She doesn't know I found you. Do you want her to? I don't know. Her voice was small. She's been good to me, but I always felt like I was living someone else's life. Now that I've met you, it feels like two stories crashing into each other. I nodded slowly. You don't have to choose, Anna. You can love both. Her eyes met mine, full of something new. Trust. But if you ever want her to meet me, I'll be here, quietly, respectfully, always. She smiled. You're not what I imagined. Better or worse? I asked, half teasing. More real, she said. More broken, more brave. That moment, that simple sentence. It filled a space in me I didn't know was still hollow. Can I ask you something now? I said. She nodded. What was the moment you knew I was your mother? She looked down, thinking. It wasn't the eyes, she said. It was your hands. My hands. I saw the way you shook when you handed me that tea. Like something fragile inside you had cracked. I've seen that in the mirror, on the days I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. I couldn't speak. We sat there until the sun dipped low and the shadows stretched long. And for the first time in 2 decades, the world felt a little less lonely. But just as we were getting up to leave, her phone rang again. This time she answered it. And what she heard on the other end would shake the ground we were finally starting to stand on. Anna pressed the phone to her ear, her posture stiffening the moment she answered. Hi, Mom, she said, voice cautious. I tried to give her space, pretending to admire the tree bark beside me, though every fiber of my being was tuned to the conversation. Yes, I'm okay, I just got caught up, she continued. No, I'm not at the bookstore anymore, I'm somewhere else. Pause. A long one. Then her tone changed. Defensive. No, I didn't lie, I just didn't tell you everything. She stood up and paced a few feet away from the bench, her back half turned to me. I stayed seated, but my heart was racing. I needed to meet her, she finally said. My breath caught. She's not a stranger, Mom, she's my birth mother. Silence. Then louder. No, she didn't come find me, I found her. I couldn't hear what the woman on the other end was saying, but I could feel it. The panic, the fear, the protectiveness. Anna's shoulders tensed. I'm not a child anymore, she said sharply. I can decide who I talk to. More silence. More packing. And then, tears. I'm not replacing you, she cried. Why would you even say that? I wanted to go to her, to hold her, but I didn't. This wasn't my fight. This was 20 years of love, pain, loyalty, and longing crashing into one decision. Finally, she pulled the phone away from her ear. She didn't hang up, she just stared at it. Her face was pale, her eyes distant. She's crying, Anna whispered. She's never cried in front of me before. I stood slowly. She loves you, I said gently. Of course she's scared. Anna nodded, wiping her cheek. She's scared I'll leave her, that I'll choose you over her. I would never ask that, I said firmly. This isn't a competition, she raised you, I respect that more than words can say. Anna looked down at the phone again. Then without a word, she pressed the screen and ended the call. She turned to me. She's not ready, she said. That's okay, I replied. We'll give her time. I don't want to lose either of you, she whispered. You don't have to, I said. You're allowed to have both stories. We sat back down, this time closer. Like the distance between us was shrinking, physically and emotionally. I didn't expect this to be so hard, she admitted. I didn't expect it to happen at all, I replied, smiling through the ache. She laughed quietly, tears still glistening. I used to make up stories about you, she said. Yes. Sometimes you were a scientist who traveled the world. Sometimes you were a secret agent, saving lives. But the one I liked best. You owned a little bakery where the door was always open, and you waited every day just in case I ever walked in. I stared at her, stunned. That's exactly what I did, I said. She smiled. I guess some part of me always knew. She reached into her coat pocket again and pulled out something small, a tiny sunflower charm. I've had this since I was 6, she said. No idea where it came from, but it was always with me, like a good luck charm. I gasped. That was from me, I said, my voice shaking. I snuck it into the bassinet. They told me I wasn't allowed to leave anything, but I did anyway. She looked at me, eyes wide, mouth trembling. And then she reached across the bench and hugged me. Not politely, not cautiously, but tightly. Like we'd both been waiting for this exact moment for 1,000 years. Neither of us spoke. We just held on. And for the first time, I felt like her mother. Not in theory. Not in paperwork. But in her arms. The next morning, my hands trembled as I tied my apron. Not because of the heat from the oven, but because Anna was coming back. We had agreed to meet for breakfast. Not at a park bench. Not in the past. But here in the present. In my cafe. I lit a candle at her table, a soft vanilla one. Wiped it twice with a clean towel, even though it was spotless. Then the bell above the door jingled. Anna walked in, hair down this time, curls soft around her face. She wore a sweater a little too big, and the sunflower charm I hadn't seen in over 2 decades. But she wasn't alone. A man followed her in. Tall, late 20s, neatly dressed, serious face. His eyes scanned the room like he didn't trust it. Anna smiled nervously as she approached. This is Caleb, she said, my fiancé. I blinked. Fiancé. Oh, it's so nice to meet you, I said quickly, extending my flour-dusted hand. He shook it stiffly. Likewise, he said flatly, I've heard a lot. There was something cold in his voice. Something that instantly made my stomach tight. Would you both like coffee? I offered, forcing a smile. We won't be long, Caleb said before Anna could answer. Anna frowned. Caleb. I just want to be clear about some things, he interrupted. I sat down slowly, my hands now resting on my knees to hide the shake in them. Caleb looked at me directly. I don't know what your intentions are, he said, but Anna has a family, a real one, people who raised her, loved her, protected her. I nodded. I understand. She's fragile right now, he continued. Vulnerable, this reunion, it's emotional, and emotions can cloud judgment. Anna's face turned red. Caleb, stop, she's not manipulating me. I didn't say she was, he said, but I won't let her get hurt. I met his eyes. I don't want to hurt her, I said gently. I just want to know her, that's all. I won't ask for more than she's willing to give. He leaned back, unconvinced. You gave her away. His words hit like a slap. No hesitation, no kindness. I did, I admitted, and I've regretted it every day since. Then you should have stayed away. Silence. The kind that squeezes the air out of your chest. But Anna wasn't silent. No, she said firmly. She shouldn't have. She's my mother too, Caleb. She left you. She was forced to, Anna shot back. You don't know the whole story. He looked at her, surprised. She'd never raised her voice to him before. This isn't about you protecting me, she continued. It's about you controlling who I forgive. Caleb stood. I'll wait in the car, he said stiffly. You have 10 minutes. And then he walked out. The door jingled. Anna's hands were clenched in her lap, face flushed with fury and sadness. I'm sorry, she said. He's protective. He loves you, I said softly. That's easy to see. Yeah, but sometimes love doesn't listen. She looked at me, and I need someone who will. I reached across the table, and gently touched her hand. I'm here, no matter what he says, no matter how long it takes, I'll always be here. She nodded slowly, tears brimming. Good, she whispered. Because I'm not ready to lose you again. That evening, I cleaned the house like a woman possessed. Not because it was dirty, but because she was coming. Honest, my daughter, to my home for the first time. Every surface was wiped twice. Every light bulb checked. I even folded the towels in the bathroom like a hotel. Ridiculous, maybe. But when you've waited 20 years to show someone they belong, you try to make belonging visible. When she arrived, she looked tired. Not from the drive. From the week. From the weight of the past and the pressure of the future. I opened the door with a smile. Hi, I said. Hi, she echoed. We stood there for a second, just smiling at each other. Like maybe, if we held the moment long enough, nothing bad could interrupt it. I stepped aside. Come in. She entered slowly, eyes scanning the living room, the soft couch, the bookshelves full of dog-eared novels, the fireplace that hadn't been lit in months. It's cozy, she said. I like cozy, I replied. Then she saw it. A small photo frame on the mantel. Inside, a wrinkled paper sunflower, faded, childlike. What's this? She asked, picking it up gently. That, I exhaled, that's yours. She turned. What do you mean? I stepped closer. When I was in the maternity home, I was only allowed paper, crayons, and books, so I made this, for you, the night before you were born. Her fingers trembled slightly as she ran them over the edges. I kept it, I said softly, because it was the only thing I made just for you. She didn't speak. Didn't have to. Her eyes said everything. After a while, I asked the question I had rehearsed 1,000 times. Would you like to see the room? She looked at me. What room? I swallowed. Your room. Her breath caught. I led her down the hallway to the door at the end. The one that had stayed locked for 2 decades. Not because I couldn't go in, but because I couldn't bear to. I unlocked it slowly. The hinges creaked like old bones. And we stepped inside. It was small. Dusty. Faded. But it was hers. The crib's still there, though the paint had chipped. The rocking chair silent in the corner. And on the walls, the sunflowers. Hand-painted, slightly uneven but bright. Anna gasped. Oh my God. I know it's not much, I said quickly, but I couldn't bring myself to change it, not even after I moved houses. I took this whole room apart and rebuilt it exactly the same, just in case. Her hand covered her mouth. She walked slowly to the crib. Ran her fingers across the railing. Then she turned to the wall and traced a sunflower with her fingertip. I used to dream of a room like this, she whispered. I didn't even know why. I thought it was just fantasy. Tears welled in my eyes. Maybe part of your heart remembered. She turned to me, eyes full of something I couldn't name. Not pity. Not anger. Something softer. Something sacred. I think I want to come back here sometimes, she said. Not to live, not yet, but to visit, to sit, to feel what could have been. You can come whenever you want, I whispered. This room will always be yours. She walked toward me and hugged me again. Tighter this time. We didn't say anything for a while. Because sometimes silence carries more truth than words ever could. Later that night, we sat in the kitchen. 2 mugs of hot cocoa between us. A soft rain tapping the windows. The kind of silence that felt like trust, not tension. Anna held the sunflower charm in one hand, spinning it between her fingers. "There's something I've never told anyone," she said, voice low. I looked up. "Waiting. Not pushing." "When I was about 10, she began, "I had this dream, over and over, same one for months." I leaned forward slightly, listening. In the dream, I was in a room I'd never seen before. Yellow walls, painted flowers. I was just standing in a crib, alone, but I didn't feel scared. I felt warm. I felt my heart stutter. She kept going. There was a woman, she never turned around, but she was humming. A soft tune, almost like a lullaby. I couldn't hear the words, but I always woke up smiling. I placed my mug down gently. "I used to hum to you," I whispered. "In the maternity home, I wasn't allowed to speak loudly, but I would hum this little tune my grandmother taught me." I hummed it then, softly. Her eyes widened. "That's it." A single tear slid down her cheek. "I thought I made it up," she whispered. "I thought it was just my imagination." "Maybe it was more," I said. "Maybe love finds a way, even when everything else is taken." She nodded slowly, holding the charm tighter. "Do you ever think about what might have been?" she asked. "Every day," I said. "But I also think about what can still be." She smiled faintly. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a stack of envelopes. "I brought these," she said. "Letters I wrote too, never sent them, just wrote them on bad days or good days, when I needed a mom." I took them carefully. The paper was worn at the edges. Some sealed, some not. "I want you to read them," she said. "Not now, but someday." "I will," I promised, every word. She looked around the kitchen. At the pictures on the wall. The fridge magnets. The little chalkboard with the grocery list I hadn't updated in weeks. "This place feels like home," she said quietly, "even though I've only been here once." "Maybe that's because it was always meant to be," I replied. Then I reached under the table and pulled out a small box. "I was going to give this to you another day," I said, "but I think you're ready." She opened it slowly. Inside were two things. A faded envelope marked to my daughter when she's old enough to understand. And a soft, hand-knitted baby blanket, yellow and white, the one I had made during my pregnancy, the one they told me to throw away. Anna ran her fingers across the fabric like it was silk. "You kept this." "I couldn't let it go," I whispered. "It was the only part of you I was allowed to keep." She folded it gently, like something sacred. Then she opened the letter. "Read it silently." And when she reached the last line, "You are not forgot, you are loved." She reached for my hand. "Thank you," she said, "for not letting go." And in that quiet kitchen, with the smell of cocoa and the sound of rain, two broken timelines began to stitch themselves into one. A few days later, Anna called. Her voice was calm but heavy. "Are you free this weekend?" she asked. "Always," I replied. "There's someone I want you to meet." I didn't ask who. I already knew. 2 days later, I stood outside a white-paneled home with lilac bushes growing wild along the fence. My palms were sweating. Not because I was nervous for myself, but because I didn't want to cause pain to a woman who had raised the girl I only dreamed of holding. Anna met me at the sidewalk. "You okay?" she asked. "Are you?" I replied. She smiled faintly. "I will be." We walked up the front steps together. Each footfall felt like a drumbeat in my chest. The door opened before we knocked. And there she was. Margaret. Anna's mom. Older than I'd pictured. Short gray hair, tired eyes, hands that looked like they'd held a million scraped knees and wiped away even more tears. She looked at me straight in the eyes. Not cold. Not warm. Just searching. "Hi," I said softly. "Thank you for letting me come." She didn't reply at first. Then she stepped aside. "Come in," she said quietly. The living room was homey. A fire crackled gently. Family photos lined the mantel. Anna in pigtails, in a cap and gown, holding a violin. I stopped in front of one. "You raised her well," I said. "She looks happy." Margaret folded her arms. "She is happy." "I'm glad," I replied. "I prayed for that." She looked at me then. Long and hard. "Why now?" she asked. "Why come back now?" "I didn't come back," I said. "She found me." Margaret's eyes flickered to Anna, who stood quietly beside us. "I never stopped loving her," I continued, "but I was told I had no rights, no access, no contact." "I know," she said. "I read the file after we adopted her." Silence fell between us again. Then she sat down, motioned for me to do the same. "I was terrified when Anna told me she found you," she admitted. "Terrified that everything we built would fall apart." "I don't want to take anything from you," I said quickly. "You're her mother." She looked at me. "And so are you." Those 4 words hit harder than any accusation ever could. "You held her hand when she was sick," I said. "Stayed up with her during nightmares. Celebrated her wins, nursed her heartbreaks." Her eyes glistened. "And you carried her before I did," she replied. "You gave her life. You let her go when it broke you. I don't think I ever understood what kind of love that must have taken." Tears welled up in both our eyes. Anna sat between us, her hands folded in her lap. "I used to wonder what it would be like if you two met," she said. "I worried it would be war." Margaret smiled sadly. "Some wars don't need to be fought, not when the goal is the same." "And what's the goal?" I asked. "To love her," she said, "even if it breaks us." We all sat there for a long time, in the hush of understanding. 3 women. 1 daughter. 2 mothers. And a shared love that had no map, just courage. Before I left, Margaret walked me to the door. "Will you come again?" she asked, voice trembling just slightly. "If you'll have me," I said. She nodded. "Maybe next time, bring one of those pies Anna says you bake so well." I smiled. "I'll bring 2." Weeks passed. And with them came something I never expected: rhythm. Not the old rhythm of grief. Not the panic of reconnection. But a gentle, uncertain rhythm of becoming. Anna started visiting every Sunday. Sometimes for breakfast. Sometimes just to sit in her old new room with a book and let the sun stretch across the floor. We didn't rush anything. We didn't push. We just built. 1 cup of tea at a time. 1 honest conversation after another. One day, I walked into the cafe to find a brown paper package on my favorite table, the one by the window with the tiny vanilla candle. No note. Just my name, written in soft cursive. Claire. I opened it slowly. Inside, a letter. And a framed photo. It was of me and Anna, taken a few weeks ago on a bench in the park. We weren't posing. Just talking. Laughing. Real. And then the letter. Dear Claire, I don't know if there's a perfect word for what you are to me. Mother feels both too small and too big. But what I do know is this. You didn't disappear. You survived. You waited. And because of that, we found each other. I'm not looking to replace anyone. I'm just trying to reconnect the parts of myself that got separated when I was too young to understand why. Thank you for your quiet love. For your griefs. For your courage. For your room full of sunflowers that you never stopped believing I might walk into. I forgive you. I love you. And I'm proud that part of me comes from you. Always. Anna's. I pressed the paper to my chest. Tears slipped down without warning. And I knew. It was time. Time to give her the letter I'd written 20 years ago. The one I had folded and unfolded 100 times. The one with tear-stained ink and a sunflower drawn in the corner. That night, we sat in her room. The one with the yellow walls. I handed it to her without a word. She opened it. Read slowly. Her lips parted, her eyes glistened. If I never get to hold you, I want you to know you were never a mistake. You are the most beautiful thing I ever created. I hope the world gives you more love than pain, more kindness than cruelty. And I hope someday you'll feel me in the wind, in the light, in the songs you hum when no one's around. I love you, even if I'm never allowed to say it out loud. Your first home. Your mother's. She looked at me, tears streaming freely now. And without a word, she leaned over and rested her head on my shoulder. I missed you before I even knew you, she whispered. I never stopped waiting for you, I replied. And that was it. No grand gesture. No dramatic ending. Just two women, side by side. One relearning how to mother. The other learning how to be mothered. Both finally free to say, we are not what was lost. We are what we found. Together,